From my vantage point, it looked like the offensive line really played one of its best games of the year on Saturday. Some of the holes that they opened up were exactly what I'm assuming you would want. What are you most pleased about the way that they're playing right now?
I think this, every game your approach is different based upon, what your game plan may be. We did generate more space last week, and we felt like we needed to too. We needed to have a game where there's some good forward runs that occurred. We thought going into that game they were very prolific at rushing the passer and creating minus yardage plays. That maybe we could take an approach that maybe was a little bit different than what they had encountered.
One of the beneficiaries of that was Owen Allen, career day, 192 and 2. How pleased are you that he took advantage of that opportunity, the carries that he got, and he made the most of it?
He certainly did. I think the part that he had opportunities to make some sizable gains, and he did that and more. You look on a trap where he broke a good tackle, the option play out to the right, being able to see as he's getting near the sideline, lowering his shoulder and going for an extra 6 or 7 yards. And then some of the top end, once he got into open space, being able to zip into the end zone a couple of times too. I thought he ran really, really well. And, the parts, there were stretches too where he blocked well. We're just going to keep helping him develop and grow.
Coach, you played some really good teams lately, UNLV, Navy, Boise State, Hawaii. You guys have been close. Do you feel like you're almost there to being a good football team?
You just don't think of it along those lines. And I say that from the standpoint that you're just taking each guy and how do I help him grow and how do I help him develop a little bit? And really you do it with your units too, right? You do it with your defense. You do it with your offense. You do it with your special teams. And, I think you're always looking to make little tweaks or adjustments, as you go. And I think that's the only way you grow, rather than saying, hey, we want to label it this or this. I think you're better off pushing forward. And, I look like even like what we did last week, or I said last week, we even staff-wise, we took our staff last week, and what we did, we said on the defensive side, we said, Brian, work ahead, and everybody in the room work collaborative, and you always do. You're working in a collaborative way. And we had Nick call the game last week, and we might do that going forward too. And, I think back to the time of what we had when I was in Denver, and just how disciplined and how organized, yet always the evolution and the ideas, and you never sat there and dwelled on what might have or what was. The only mindset you could have was to go forward. And I think we've always been pretty good that way, and we got to keep looking in that direction.
Was Nick calling the game just kind of you wanted to see somebody call a different scheme or just?
Yeah, I think probably the other part too is, again, just I want it. I think back, again, I go back to when we were in Denver. There were times where Gary Kubiak would call a game. There were times where Shanahan would call a game. We did it when I was in Houston too. And I just think it's so good, man. Everybody sees, it just makes everybody think big picture a little bit better. I think the other part too is ultimately, as a group, how do we develop each player in his own way? Because that's what it is, How do I take each guy and what's he need to make sure? Is there a different drill that I need to do for not just that player, maybe that position too? We're going to do that.
Hey, Coach, at the beginning of the season, did you know you were going to have this type of offense that you're running now, or is this kind of evolved as the season has gone forward?
Well, every year we try to take in like June. In late June, we say, all right, who are really and usually it's your skill spots, to be frank, but consideration for the guys up front too. You try to say, okay, what 3 or 4 guys maybe are, have a chance to be most involved, and what are their strengths? And we've done that every year. I say that. What's Tim Jefferson do really, really well? And if he's throwing it out to Kevin Fogler, compared that if he's throwing it out to Zach Kauth, or if Zeke is in there, or he has a really good tailback in Asher Clark. Hey, when Jared Tuesday, I would try to, we've always attempted to do that. And, I think we felt like when we went into in June, when we came out of June and really early July and started putting everything together for, what you were going to do in August, you've seen the guys that, have had some, good gains, sizable gains. And then, hey, what are some of the strengths of what we think with Josh and Liam could be going into the season? Again, complemented by what you think you're going to do well up front, too.
And I was curious, has the shutdown affected you guys at all, maybe upper?
Somewhat, not drastically. There were a couple of days where we had a couple of staff members that weren't able to work. By and large, no. I mean, not in terms of our players are there, we're able to practice, we're able to travel, we're able to play. So for the most part, no.
You say Nick, you mean Nick Toth, right?
Right.
Okay. Is that something you've ever done? I mean, I know you mentioned the NFL background. Have you done that here?
There were stretches, once in a while. It's been a while, We did it when I was in, the year I was in Houston. There were some weeks Gary would call it and some weeks where I'd call it. And like I said, there were weeks we were in Denver where Mike would call it. He'd call it, and some weeks Gary would call it. And, now, is it a huge deal? Nah, I don't know about that. Just because I think so much of your collaborative work during the week and your preparation, like we walk into this building at 6 a.m. every day, and Mondays it's 1st and 10, normal down and distance, personnel matchups. Tuesday, after you're looking at Monday's practice, any adjustments we want to make, and then getting ready tomorrow for, all right, red zone, all game situations, that pop up. It's high red, low red, goal line, third down. What are some initial 4-minute thoughts, at the end of a game where either two first downs would salt a game away. That's the way we've always done it.
Can you see how from the out, just learning this, it would seem like a pretty drastic step to take in the middle of a season where the defense is strong?
I don't think so. No. I mean, not for just because of the number of people that we have involved.
You talked about each individual guy and helping them grow. Jonah Dawson, the last 2 games, didn't play to start the year, comes in, makes a huge catch against Navy, his 4 catches on the year. What about the weeks leading up that made you think that he could make this level of impact so quickly?
Jesse, when we saw him in high school, the ability to adjust to a ball in flight. Now, he's not, he's a smaller guy, direct in. I mean, 17 months ago, he was in high school. I mean, there's still some physically, I think, a good bit of thickness that he has to build and acquire. But boy, just the ability to track a ball is really good, and he knows it's pretty decent too.
It sounds like they might be on track to get John Michael Gillenborg, their tight end, back. How different does their offense look when he is involved?
Well, I mean, he would be, out there a little bit more. I think the part where they've been really, really good, you look at it, they've had pretty good balance. They've been able to run the ball well going forward, and they're committed to doing it. And yet at the same time, golly, if they got to generate a bunch of yards through the air, they've been able to do that really, really well. The number of games that he's had where he's thrown for at least 250 plus yards. I think last week he was, 304, 302 last week. And they have good players, and they have guys that have been around for a long time. I think really, if you look throughout our league, I think you'd find that probably Wyoming, Boise State, and Colorado State have had the most continuity, when you look for the most part. So a good number of those guys have been there fourth or going into their fifth year.
A lot has been made of Liam Zarka's ability. What about his leadership and kind of command of the huddle? How has that grown?
Just the poise, how well he, communicates. It just doesn't get nervous, and everybody's going to make mistakes. We all do. But the ability to go forward and move on from it, I love it. I want guys that are that way. And it's one of the lessons you want them to take forward into life, too. Hey, we're all going to make some mistakes, but you know what? As we go forward, be even more connected, even more engaged, just because it's who you are as a human being.
How many games in a row for Bruin Fleischman? Touchdown kick, 4. Have you ever had a tight end with this much success catching the football?
I think if you go back and look, Travis Decker was pretty successful. Kyle Patterson, the tight ends to a degree in 2019 were. I can't tell you right off the top of my head exact numbers, but Travis Decker caught a bunch of balls. I think if you go look in 2007, 2008 he was hurt in the first 5 games. Like I said, if you have a guy that has ability, we want to try to, and in fairness to Bruin too. You look, another guy, first really 2.5 years, because he came here right out of high school. So the back half of last year, about the last 4 games or so, and then this year, he's got a lot of football in front of him that he still would be able to play in college beyond this year too.
Coach, I know your team is always buying in, but do you notice when your tight ends catch a few more balls that maybe their blocking is just that much better?
Well, I hope it's not exactly that correlate. You hope they do it, period, and they do. I think the other part, you look, just the involvement of not just one tight end. You mentioned Bruin just because he does have a few more catches, that makes it obvious. But, you look at the number of 2 tight end sets that we've used this year. Both Bruin and Parker Menifee are out there. There have been even moments maybe where Simon Kibbe played it, a little bit, or Griffin Stolfert, was involved in a couple of different packages that we've utilized. So that definitely, they like that.
Yeah. Defensively, do you see that unit growing and making strides? Maybe that obviously we don't see.
Well, it's not going to happen instantly. We don't live in fiction. There's no time warp. It just we just got to keep pouring it into them, which we will, and just I think the other part too is they realize the more you do this, how important Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are when you're lifting upper body or you're cleaning or you're squatting. How much that carries over to Saturdays and how you just have to build on the layers, for a long time.
You talk about Liam's mindset and shaking off, maybe what doesn't go right. I saw you after his fumble or the fumble. I don't know exactly what happened on that. You talked to him really briefly on the sideline. How much of that is just looking in his eyeballs and seeing how he responds to that, or imparting a message? Like what is that interaction about for you?
I want a guy to go forward always. Now I want him to take an experience and to learn from it. But for any human being, golly, let's put a sights on where they need to be, and it's up ahead. Now, would you still go over look at an iPad? Maybe there's something in terms of technique or fundamentally that we want to do a little bit different. Sure. But I think for any human being, what we're all trying to do with our guys is get them to go that direction.
And the offensive success, if I'm not mistaken, have all 5 linemen started all 6 games?
Yeah, you're right. I haven't even thought of it that way, but you're right. The continuity there, I really haven't. But I think Luke Von der Haar, you're right. Yeah, we've had Von der Haar's played a little bit at a tackle. Gage Spencer's played a little bit at a tackle. We had T.J. Tarasia. He was involved. T.J. was at guard. And I think going forward, you're going to see him at both some left guard and right guard. And really at center for the most part. Gabe's played. It's been primarily Costin that's been in there. That matters. Absolutely matters.
I mean, is it one of those where we see the success, but you kind of forget the work that has to take place up front to make everybody look good in the back?
You're so true, right? You aren't be good at anything offensively if you aren't sound and solid up front. And now those guys went through, they, especially the 5 that are playing a good bit, they went through some growing pains. And I think if you went last year and took about the first 7 games, 6-7 games, there was some ironing out that had to occur. And it's, I think so much what ends up happening there is just how exact, not only the communication, but the footwork, and then how physical you got to be. I mean, I think it's easy to say assignment-wise, I know what I'm supposed to do, but with the pad level and the coordination and being exactly foot to foot and hip to hip on double teams, immeasurable. You saw last week on a couple of the kickouts. A guard kicks out and the fullback pops, but for the tackle to know the nuances that are involved when that occurs, and for a guard when he blocks down on a nose to not just see the nose, but being able to see the backside backer too, it takes time. There's probably a reason why a good number of schools, I know when we were at Wake Forest, we redshirted every offensive lineman, we redshirted every quarterback, because we wanted the benefits of the 4th and the 5th year, just where they had so many reps. Physically, their body's further along, and the intricacies, the details that are involved with what you're teaching.
And Trevor Tate's coming in, I believe. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, just high-quality young man, bright, really, really committed to everything that he does, and has really, really good movement. He has ever since he's been here. He's gained strength and he's gained more power, and because of it, he's gained more confidence too.
And defensively, Dallas Daly coming in,
Mm-hmm.
he brings a little different level of physicality. Are there any other players like that who could be coming off an injury and coming back into the fold at some point, or just emerging within the program that you might be able to turn to?
Yeah, Dallas has played well the last 2 games, and his physicality, his intensity, his focus. He plays with a tremendous amount of verve in a really positive way. I mean, he's super good at being highly aggressive, but knowing right where the line is, being pretty disciplined too. And, could there be? Yeah, there could be. I can't say specifically right now. There could be.
And then in terms, you said Brian Knorr was looking ahead. So what advantages does that bring this week if he had had a little extra time to prepare for?
Well, I think more than anything else, you start going through, all the situational football that's involved. That's part of it. And first down, when there are 11 personnel, and first down anytime they get in what you call Denver, a tight end into the boundary with 1 receiver and 2 stand-ups to the field. I do think we need to make our guys alert that if there are 3 stand-ups and the back set to the same side, there are just little keys there that can be helpful.
And obviously the coverage units are going to be important this week, every week, but, just seeing what Wyoming did last week on a punt return. With playing so many freshmen now, is that detracting a little bit from your options in some of the special teams because you don't want necessarily a starter to be running out on kickoff and punt cover?
I do want a starter. I want the best player out there, and I do think you look, I think you look at our net punt, golly. We've hit some really good distance balls that require more length in the coverage. I don't have aren't net punt, aren't we like 40, 45 yards or something, like fifth in the fifth out of 135 teams. We're going to put them out there. I do think if you look at kickoff cover, we had the one ball. We wanted the placement to be a little bit different. A week and a half ago, we're going to put our best guys on our special teams, period. I think when there are moments that we think there's a chance for a kickoff return, you look back there and it's 8 and it's 21, right? Frew and Cade Harris. I just think that what can be so many significant yardage swings, especially with your coverage units, we're going to put whoever we think the best guys are for that spot. It's not kind of throw a guy on there or throw somebody a little no.
And then I know you sort of addressed this, but with defensively, are there any other changes that you would anticipate, either coaching maneuvers like that or personnel, anything else you're going to try, moving forward here?
Well, I mean, we're gonna play a few guys. We aren't just going to have one guy at a spot. I think if you look, like in our front, Isaac Hubert's played snaps at one edge, and Jalen Reese has played snaps, there. Jackson Adams has been an edge. Groby's been an edge. You look on the interior, with Peyton and Aiden and Andrew Tillett and Lukia Rawls. You look at safety. We've had Nick and we've had Alex Perez. We've had Max and Houston and Roger. Those guys, those 5 guys have played the 3 spots primarily, and at corner. The 3 guys that played a bunch the other day. I mean, I would anticipate that's what we do this week, too. I mean, there's some things maybe matchup-wise, like there was last week when they got the ball down inside the 3-yard line, and we had an opportunity to match some things personnel-wise, substitution-wise. And we came up with the hold where they had to kick the field goal. We took one of the corners off the field in that situation just because of what we saw in terms of their heavy personnel and brought in another front guy. We'll do a couple of things that way game plan-wise this week too.
Did you have Zadroik out at almost an end for a few snaps, or was that just more of a tackle?
It was more of a tackle. And what it is, there are a couple of things that we will do. Well, here, I don't know why. I mean, just to be forthcoming. I mean, there's some things speed-wise where we think it's, must pass. I shouldn't say must pass. Nobody's a must pass, but you anticipate there's a good chance it could be a pass to put a crew together that way.
Trevor, the offensive line right now, do you feel like you guys are in a really good place making your assignments and everything?
Yeah. Obviously, we're doing a pretty good job. You just got to really look at the fine details. Like, are we, getting a penalty? Are we ending the drive with those penalties? Are we getting, chop blocks, other stuff like that? So we got to do a better job eliminating those. But other than that, we just got to be more assignment sound at the end of the day.
Trevor, can you slide up just a little bit?
Yeah, sorry.
And then Liam Zarka, we talked about his abilities a lot. What is he like as a leader?
He's an amazing leader. He's one of those quarterbacks that will just drop his shoulder to get those extra 3 yards, which is so inspiring for an offensive line. And it means a lot to us. So it's going to make us want to work harder for him and do a better job.
Trevor, have you played at Wyoming yet? Have you been to Laramie? And
Last year we went to Wyoming. I wasn't playing at the
Oh,
time.
yeah, that's right. It's here. I keep forgetting about that. I don't know why. I keep thinking it's in Wyoming. Never mind. How do you guys look at Wyoming from a rivalry standpoint?
Yeah, they're one of our bigger rivals. You know, not up there with the CIC, but it's definitely a game we need to win at the end of the day. And it's going to be a tough game. But we have a lot of trust in Coach Thiessen and Coach Calhoun to establish a really good plan for the offense to go there and succeed.
I know you guys haven't had the results you've wanted, but offensively, how much fun is it being in this offense?
It's a blast. You know, one of the most exciting offenses I've ever been a part of, for sure. Just go down there, score 40 points a game. You know, we just got to do a better job finishing every drive. And like I said, that's in the little things. How can we be a really good O-line to almost a perfect offensive line and offense in general?
Is the 265 listed next to you accurate?
No, it's not.
Okay, what's the real number?
I weigh about 275, 280.
Okay, that's it. The growing pains you guys went through last year, how much is that helping now, not only in terms of how you're playing as an offensive line and as an offense, but also keeping the culture in the locker room because you know what the other side is going through as they're breaking in, trying to find the right combination?
Yeah, I know exactly what it feels, and it's tough. So you can't sit here and blame people. You know, we're a team, and you just got to take one step at a time. You know, eyes up, next target, and just get better every week. Focus on the small details, and just succeed. At the end of the day, we got to have some playmakers on both sides, and that happens during the week during practice in the little things.
When you guys found the right combination last year, was it obvious to you right away, or did that continue to take some time?
I would say continue to take some time. It felt good to get that first win last year, and something clicked. But it's a constant growth mindset, and we're still growing. There's always room to grow, always room to get better. And Coach Lobo does a really good job with the offensive line, instilling that constant growth mindset. But yeah, it feels good to be succeeding. We're just not winning, We got to score more points than the opponent.
And watching last year when the offensive line was struggling early, or the offense was struggling, and now to see the offense going so well, is it, do we kind of overlook the role of the offensive line? Maybe it was accentuated when things were going bad, but now that things are going good, there's so much attention on Liam Zarka and Owen Allen. Do you guys feel like a lot of pride in what's happening and knowing that
we always have pride in the diesel. That's what we call ourselves, the diesel. But to be frank, Liam Zarka and Owen Allen and all these other guys in the backfield, they've been making us look really good. And we got to do a better job of carrying the team on the offensive line's back. And I thought we did a better job at UNLV. We had 420 yards of rushing. That's something to take a lot of pride in. We just got to finish, No chop blocks, no false starts. I had a false start myself. Those are drive enders, and we need to do a better job just finishing drives and scoring more than the opponent.
And how does the challenge change this week with, Wyoming traditionally has played the run very well, and just defensively has played Air Force well, and then Army's coming up after that. Like, it's going to be a different kind of football, I would think, coming forward. Do you like that? And then how do you approach that? And what do you anticipate?
It's always great having a new challenge. But like I said, Coach Lobo and all of our offensive coaching staff is going to do an amazing job getting us a good plan going forward. And at the end of the day, we just day by day during the week, and it just starts at practice.
Cool. All right, well, real quick, how'd you end up here from North Carolina? How?
I had a couple offers. I had Air Force, Navy, and then Richmond. My father was actually a 92 grad at the academy. Yes, sir. Yep.
Did he play ball?
Yes, sir. He did for a year or two. Yep. Okay. And then I had a couple uncles that went to the Naval Academy, played football there. My grandfather played in the Naval Academy, so I always knew I wanted to go to an academy just because I know what type of man it develops and the quality of man. But it was something I always wanted to do, for sure. And that's why I chose.
Were you an Air Force fan as a kid?
No, not really. No. Yeah.
All
Do you feel like you guys are really close? You played some good teams, UNLV, Navy, undefeated teams. Do you feel like you guys are close to being a good football team?
We're right there. It came down to the wire against UNLV, against the Naval Academy. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's the little things. How can we better finish drives and at the end of the day score more than the opponent? And that starts with the offensive line. And we're going to do a better job just cleaning up some things. Coach Lobo has been talking about the margin of error that we're in right now. We're playing good, but we need to play great. And what does that look like? It's just cleaning up the little things, knowing what you're doing on every play, and going out there and executing.
My final question for you is there like a message to finishing games on both sides of the ball? I know you talked about the little mistakes, but just kind of like a mentality almost?
Yeah, there is a big mentality that I know we have. Is just we need more playmakers on both sides of the ball. And I know everybody has that mentality because I know the work ethic of the entire team. So I know it's there. We just got to do a better job making plays on both sides of the ball.
Defensively, do you feel like your guys are improving each week, or just how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think each week there's certain things that we have improved, and I think we're really close to getting everything clicking and being a successful defense.
Do you see a difference in like the play calling style or anything with Nick calling the plays compared to previous weeks?
No, I don't think so. We had a meeting with him after the game last week. There is no magical call really. The calls that we have are the calls we use, and so the play caller doesn't really make a huge difference, I don't think.
Dallas, how do you guys keep your spirits up when things aren't going the way you would like?
I think we just take it day by day. As for me and everyone on the defense, I think we've kind of wiped UNLV from our minds and we've moved on to Wyoming. And so just looking forward and knowing there's stuff to build on for sure.
What do you see from the Cowboys offensively?
They're a physical team. Every year they are. But there's certain things that we've picked up on film that I think that we can exploit, and I think we got a good game plan going forward.
Traditionally, this has been a physical game, but not a shootout style. Is that a welcome relief that, because you guys do, I would assume, feel you can match up physically with somebody, but you don't have to worry about all the little intricacies that the last few weeks have presented?
Yeah, I mean, I think skill-wise, I don't think there's a huge drop-off with these guys. I think everyone in the Mountain West is pretty skilled, and everyone's got good players. But I think if we go play our game, I think we can handle it.
It was kind of surprising for us to hear that Coach Calhoun had a different play caller for the defense last week. Like, was it surprising to the defense to see a switch like that, in the middle of a season? I mean, even though it was for one game, it's not something I've seen Air Force do. Like, how did you guys react to it?
I guess it was a surprise, but I don't think it was really a big effect for anyone on the team. Like I said, it's just the call coming in through the play caller, so we still got to do our job.
From what you can observe, is the hierarchy still the same? You have a coordinator, you have position coaches, and everything else still as always?
Yeah, there's been no change really. As far as, no one on the team really looks into the hierarchy much. We're just trying to play our game.
And then what else is changing? Looking from the outside, looking in, you wouldn't want, as a fan of a team, you wouldn't want to see the same thing tried over and over again if the results aren't improving. Like, what internally is changing other than some personnel in the secondary? Someone like you coming back from injury. Like, what else is different?
I don't think that there needs to be a ton of big changes made. I think it's a lot of little mistakes and finite details that we are failing to do in the game that are causing the big plays. So I think if we just stick with the game plan and just try to knock out some of those small mistakes we're making, we'll be a lot better.
And kind of tell me about your season. Like, what were you battling, and then kind of the frustrations of watching what was going on while you weren't able to?
I sprained my AC joint in the first kickoff of the Bucknell game. So it was frustrating for sure, but we're deep room at linebacker, and so it was good to see my guys in that room play. And I think it was frustrating not be able to contribute. but moving forward, I think we're good.
AC joint, is that a shoulder? Okay. And are there any others like you who, I know there have been some injuries in the secondary. I think they're all pretty serious. Like, is anybody else around there on the verge of coming back who you feel like can help, or is it just going to be a matter of the right sophomore, right freshman presenting themselves as a player?
I think we got the right guys. I don't think anyone needs to be replaced necessarily. I think we have the right people for the job, and we just got to get our stuff figured out.